Hello, welcome to our podcast.
What?
Podcast.
What? Podcast?
Why did I say it like that?
Why are you talking like that?
Tomato. Empty nest syndrome.
ENS.
Yeah.
Isn't that a band?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. But I just want to quickly refer back to last week's podcast.
What, where we basically piled in on each other for being boring?
Yeah, it really seemed to get a lot of you angry.
It was bizarre, wasn't it?
We couldn't have been more shocked, could we?
No.
I think it got people going more than anything else. And mostly people thought it was a terrible thing to sit and talk about what bores us about each other.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I think the point of doing this podcast is that we do things that are uncomfortable, that we discuss things. Really, we don't really know which way they're going to go. And I think that is actually the USP of it, is that it's in a world where everything is so rehearsed and so thought out. I think the fact that we risk exposing ourselves, really, for want of a better way of explaining
Pixelator, get the pixelator out.
I think that that's a good thing.
Well, I put a generic answer, which in itself enraged a few people because I just didn't have time to write loads, and I could see that there was a sentiment. And if there was a sentiment, I thought, well, I just want to quickly attend to this. But yeah, I mean, there's little point in us both sitting here and just telling each other's gorgeous and life's wonderful. I mean, it's absolutely pointless.
Can you do a podcast where you tell each other how wonderful you are? It's like, well, we could, but I think it'd be quite boring.
Incredibly dull. But here's the other thing as well. I mean, in terms of staying married so far, I think almost with anything in life, one of the things I did learn, without wishing to go on about rehab and all that kind of stuff, is that in any form of therapy, couples counselling, whatever, the whole point of it is that you challenge each other and yourselves. So like me and Nadia, yeah, obviously we say things that we don't want to hear. Obviously we say them in different ways. But you know, when we come out of these podcasts, it's all about making us think a bit more and trying to see things from each other's point of view. Because I think one of the things most couples don't do enough is listen to each other. And what we do try and do in this is listen. And of course there are times where it fires up.
We fail miserably a lot of the time.
Absolutely. But if we start thinking about what we're saying and how we're saying it and whether it's right or whether it's wrong, I might as well just smash this phone over my face and run out into the street. It's pointless. So we're sorry if we've ruffled a few feathers, but you know, we're going to do another one called "Why Are We Really Fucking Boring?"
But the other thing I just wanted to say quickly was a lot of people, I think, have an idea that I have maybe not enough sympathy, if that's the right thing, for Mark and Mark's mental health. I absolutely do, but I also have sympathy for people that live with people with mental health. And so it's a balance that I'm always trying to get, where and it's something I've had to work on, because my thing is I'm a rescuer, so I tend to just want to look after other people because it distracts from whatever's going on in me. So it is something that I've had to actually go and learn, where I say, okay, this is really bad for this person. Where am I at with this? Emotionally, where am I at with this? Because it's not, and that is actually a problem. I mean, even that is making it sound like I'm this amazing person. It's not. It's as much of an addiction to be a rescuer as it is anything else. It's all about distracting from your own stuff, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's a tightrope that Mark and I are always walking, of understanding each other. And when these podcasts get a bit itchy and a bit sticky, I personally think that is the whole point of doing them.
Yeah. Because
we're all walking around, so many people walking around pretending that their relationships are fine and pretending that, and I think that's why there's so much loneliness within relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's what we're going to continue to do. And you know, I'm not made of steel. Sometimes these things do upset me, and I do try not to be upset, because the majority of people are constructive in their criticism. But that's what I would say. We love to be challenged, we love to be criticised, but please try and be constructive rather than personal, because then I think it's better for all of us and this community that we're building with our podcasts and with our YouTube.
And here's the other lovely detail about this channel, is that we ultimately can decide that if someone contributes to the forum who's offensive or clearly only interested in trying to pull us or people down, we will hide you.
Hide you.
We will hide you.
But
I will
please
find
challenge
you.
us.
I will find you. Oh no, please challenge.
Oh, we
Challenging
love
is
it.
fine.
We love it. We sometimes
Yeah.
read through the comments,
No.
don't we? We say, "Oh my God, look, this person said this," and we go, "Oh God, that's interesting." Well, maybe, and that's what we want. We want a wide conversation.
But we do also know, and we do also see when people have been systematic across various films. So, we will find you and we will hide you. Anyway, let's get on with it. Empty nesting. Empty nesting, the whole concept of empty nesting. I didn't have a nest to empty. Well, I did. I mean, I had a home when I was a child. Because I think the way our attitudes to...
Well, glad to hear that.
No, but I think our attitudes to empty nesting really do follow through from what happened to us. And I mean, when I left home, my mum was at the same time splitting up with her partner. They were selling the house at the very same time that I went to college.
So were you 18?
Yeah. And so when I went to college, within the first term, the house was sold. There was no home to kind of return to, from my perspective as a child.
Oh, right.
But I do remember even my mum, with all of the sort of, awfulness of how our sort of, when I say awfulness and highs, I mean, it was a very intense and close relationship, one boy and his mum through 18 years on their own together. When I left, I remember, and because she was, vulnerable because the relationship was falling apart. That's the dogs. This is a real life. Is that someone at the door? One of the things that I do remember was that she was deeply, deeply upset. And I remember being, I'm going to have to go and check that.
So, he's just going to go and check. I forgot to say, I do usually say at the top of the podcast that we never edit anything. And I think the reason we stick to that so strictly is because it can be really tempting once you've edited one thing or one podcast to keep on doing it, and we really, really don't want to do that. I think it gives a kind of a live feel to it rather than recorded, doesn't it?
So I do remember my mum being sort of strangely very distressed, and I wasn't. I was so excited. I was heading off into the world.
Oh, you
I
weren't
was
stressed
jumping
at
on a
all.
train.
You don't look back, do you, when you're that young?
No, not at all. I mean, I remember I got on a train, but pretended I cycled there. What a weirdo. And I just remember heading off to college, and that was that. That was the end of that. And the last thing you should be thinking of is your parents.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I was thinking about was my mum, because I had it sort of hardwired into me that it hadn't been that fun. It had been difficult, and I'm my own boss now, and therein lies that. So,
what was the main thing because I didn't have that going off to college moment? What was the? Did it really feel like I am now a grown up? I am in charge of my life. I will no longer need this woman in the way that I ever had.
Well,
it was
different for me because I never needed her.
Yeah.
And what had happened?
You did.
Well, no.
But you just didn't get what you.
I didn't get
needed.
what I wanted, but I didn't know. I know. But my sense of things was that I didn't need her. My sense of my childhood was parenting her. So me leaving home was about me being free. And not feeling fettered or living my mum's life, because really it was such an all-engulfing life. I was in relationships with all the people she was in relationships virtually. It wasn't just a mum situation. So I just headed off, and that was it. That was freedom for me. And my concept of where I would stay, and it was funny. It was only when I hit the first summer at university I went, "Shit, where the hell am I going to go? When college closes."
What happened to all your stuff?
My stuff went into storage down at Nan's. I didn't have a lot of stuff, and it came with me in the van. She brought it down in the van later. So for me, the whole, my first experience of emptiness, it wasn't a thing back then. Money wasn't, houses weren't so unaffordable. My mum had a house, for God's sake. She wasn't earning a lot.
What did so in those first few months, because having seen my sister Dina go through it with Finley a couple of years ago, it was terribly hard for her, those first few months. And oh my God, she was agonising in the months running up to it as well about him going. It was truly awful.
But it was funny, because all I was experiencing in that entire, because I was witnessing it, was just Finn's excitement.
I know,
Nothing from Dina at all.
Me too.
I wasn't getting Dina's...
Well, it's funny because as an auntie and as a sister, I was seeing both sides. So I was trying to manage both sides. So I'd be saying to Finlay, just give your mum a little call, but not when he's put pressure on him.
No.
And then saying to Dean, you've just got to let him fly. You've got to let him fly. This is you haven't been a great parent. He's gone off. He's able. He's independent. He's excited.
But of course, empty nesting back then. So when I left, I left. There was no text, there was no mobile phone. If you wanted to call, you'd have to be in a house and at a phone book. I'd write a letter every night. I'd write a letter a month to her.
Wow.
That was the kind of correspondence.
God, I wonder if she's still got those letters.
And then she headed off to Hong Kong and did all her stuff, and she wrote back. You know, she was in South America, I think.
Have you got any letters?
She has. I think she's got some of the
Have
letters.
you got any that she wrote?
Probably somewhere, yeah. In a
Oh, wow,
box.
I'd love to see them.
But, so empty nester. What was you said you never left home?
Well, God, yeah, I hadn't really realised that until we were thinking this.
We just thought we'd talk about our own experiences first, and then we talk about how we deal with it.
I can remember very clearly my dad saying, and don't forget, my dad is Arabic, Jordanian, tribal, Bedouin.
Yeah, travelling.
Do you know what? There's a lot of people that don't know what Bedouin means. I said it all the time. So I'd better explain that. Travellers in the desert, literally moving camp to camp.
They sort of like desert gypsies.
Desert gypsies, yeah. So I remember when we were about 15 and 16, 15 and 17, something like that, me and my sister Dina, my dad saying, you know what? I am going to convert the next door for you, because we had a garage.
Yeah.
Because you are getting big. There is no room for you. And I remember thinking, well, it's not very nice, there's no room for us. But actually, it was because I think he was starting to fear emptiness syndrome. So he, with his bare hands, with my cousins, built like these 2 studio rooms. And I know this makes me sound incredibly spoiled, but I was, obviously. I didn't think much of it at the time. So these 2 like bed sits almost.
Yeah.
So we just had one room and a kitchen each, Dina and I, and a bathroom and a bathroom. And he said the reason that he had done this was he wanted us to be free to choose what we really wanted to do. Now this is really out there, guys. Rather than be saddled with having to make money to pay a dirty, stinking, creepy landlord the money who's going to be knocking at your door. So these are absolutely, I'm quoting him here, these were the reasons that he gave us for building these bed sits for us, so that we could just do whatever we wanted to do without being restricted by rents and all of that. Which is a great idea. You know, he knew we were both creatives. My sister wanted to be an artist, I wanted to be an actress. He said he didn't want us to end up in a job that we didn't want to do, because we were having to finance what we really wanted to do, artist, actress, which was all a great idea. But of course, when you do that with a teenager, what do?
Don't know. What did they
Just
do?
become incredibly lazy.
Oh, I see.
And unmotivated.
Yes, of course.
So we lived in those flats for, oh my God, probably till I was about 20. Oh Christ, you know me and my ages, I don't know, 22, 23.
Right.
But I had relationships inside that, and would go and live with a boyfriend for 6 months and then come back. And so I had, like, in a way, my own, I had my own bedsit.
We had the best of both worlds.
I had the best of both worlds. We had a connecting door through to my parents' house. So my parents had the best of both worlds. But my dad really did make it sound like it was just all for our benefit. But actually, when I think about it now, and I'm thinking this right now for the first time at 55.
Oh, right. Is this live?
This is live.
This is a live thought happening in Nadia's mind.
I think he was terrified of us leaving. And he was scared of the world for us.
Right.
I mean, when you think of the enormous journey that he had coming from the Middle East, bringing us up as like, really, I want independent young women. And then I think he'd probably had some difficult situations when he'd first come here with landlords and stuff. And I think he just got into his head, my girls are going to be in like flats with like creepy landlords knocking on their door and trying to get in. I think his imagination ran away with him, and he went into protection mode.
Right.
And so my sister and I lived up and below each other for maybe like five or 6 years.
Wow.
Like that. I'd forgotten this.
And it's clearly carried on because we live next door.
Well, we still live next door to my mum and dad, and my mum and dad have
So ostensibly
people living in those bedsits now.
But we've ostensibly only really put about 60 feet between you and your original bedsit.
Yes.
But do you think it's at all strange that we kind of built onto our house for business purposes and stuff like that, and then we're now in a situation that in terms of empty nesting, this is what strikes me as odd. In one way,
Just had an epiphany.
In one way, me and Teddy couldn't be more different. But in another way,
No, you're very
in another
similar.
way, we couldn't be more identical, because I'm slowly and gently, as I'm nurturing Kiki into potentially considering the room opposite Maddie's in the extension, which is like 2 bedsits attached to the side of our house built by us.
Oh
I'm
my
slightly
God.
beginning to wonder whether we have completely repeated history.
What did I say to you the other day?
Because
What did I say to you the other day about that
But my
time?
line to the girls the other day was, of course, girls in the car, I may as well have had an Arab accent. Why do we want to be giving money to dirty, horrible bastard landlords when you could be staying in our house and you can have the freedom, we can fill in the wall, you can come and go as you please.
Did
we
you say that?
Yes.
I said the other day, you know what? It's so expensive for kids to move out.
It's
I
ludicrous.
said we could just block up that door again. It's history repeating itself. Oh my
I am
God.
Teddy. I am
But
Teddy.
what I would say is, with that time and staying close to my parents, I mean, I remember Izzy saying to us after she'd finished
That's my eldest
university,
daughter.
I was like a baby bird that left the nest too soon. She said that.
Yes.
And I think that there is a rush for people to get out and stand on their own
Yes.
2 feet, and that's good. But I think rather like not all children are ready for the same thing.
Absolutely
like
agree.
like Kiki was a summer baby and she was a whole year younger than everyone else in her class. And I don't think she was ready for school because she was just so much younger. And I think different people develop at different stages.
I agree.
And my sister, my eldest sister, Dina, was incredibly shy.
Yes.
And she did find the world quite a frightening place. And so she had longer to establish herself. We were very close, so that was great in that we kind of had this living experience. And we paid my parents, you know, a little rent and stuff like that. So we weren't just like completely indulged, spoiled brats.
Well, I mean, I did say that to the guy. I mean, so in terms of our attitudes to empty nesting, I mean, my line on it is exactly like yours. I think that, you know, a one-size-fits-all kind of jump-off point of 18 always struck me as a bit bizarre because, you know, various people, and when you go to college, you can see, you know, when you're at university, you can see those who are struggling and those who are striking for freedom and those who are a little bit more tentative and hesitant. For me,
What I have changed my mind on, though, is that I think I've always said, and I've said it many times on Loose Women, so if anybody thinks, oh, she's contradicting herself there, you said on Loose Women, but I do think it's okay to contradict yourself and change your way
you
of
can
thinking.
rethink.
Exactly,
Isn't that the
I
point?
rethink all the time.
Isn't that the point of
I've
life?
always said, and I think we've had this conversation, that I wouldn't ever want to charge our kids to stay here. Now, we, of course, are in the very lucky position financially that we could afford to
Yes.
say that, and most people couldn't. But I've changed my mind on that now, and I do think that I would say you've got to pay a certain amount.
Well,
of
I
for a
said that
sense
to
of
the girls, and I said that
responsibility.
to the girls too. I said,
Yeah.
"There's no way you can live in a household," because I said you cost money to run. I mean, you know, everyone goes on about cows being the greatest eater and creator of carbon dioxide, but actually the biggest polluters and money gobblers are humans. And I said, you know, if you live with us, there is going to be some money that you need to spend on it. You know, I feel for kids though today, because the whole empty nest syndrome thing, I think, was a thing. I've got a funny feeling that even the concept of the empty nest is going to become a little bit archaic quite quickly. You know, unless there, and I hate to get boring, but unless there is a massive correction in, you know, house prices and finances, and unless we really, unfortunately, unless we go into some enormous economic doom-laden recession, which Brexit looks like it's going to bring, you know, you need something that kind of equalises the playing field so that kids can actually think about moving out. Because here's the thing, you might have all the best intentions in the world, the child might want to leave, you're happy for them to leave, because we haven't even talked about the lifestyle we might live in an empty nest.
It's a big topic.
It's a big topic, but once they've left, there's this idea or this perception, and I've experienced this already with Izzy to some degree, that, you know, the cost of the child evaporates, and quite the opposite. The cost of the child, in many ways,
Increases.
explodes because you're suddenly dealing with deposits, you're dealing with buying out of properties, you're dealing with getting new furniture, you know, so all those things become extra costs in adult life. You think you've got over the finishing line, and no, you're kind of starting in a whole different way. So it's not even like a financial hurrah. There's, you know, and I often say this.
That's why we are really trying to encourage the kids to save some money.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, Izzy was great at that, wasn't
Oh,
she?
she's
She
brilliant.
had saved
She's
some.
brilliant.
But, you know, it is something you have to think about. You know, it's good for them to go, okay, to
Yeah.
say to them, you know, you're going to go to
Yeah.
college, you're going to want a nice armchair, you're
Yeah.
going to want a cosy armchair from a second-hand shop. That's probably going to cost you about, if it's, you know, it's going to cost you 40 quid. Think about these things ahead of time.
So this is about marriage. So how will our relationship, if the girls were to leave, are you in pain? a little later on.
I'm just considering this as it
How
comes to
would our relationship change? How would things change? I mean, on a practical level. I mean,
right. Well,
you were talking about just experiencing it this weekend, weren't you, with NADIA at a festival?
Yeah, the thing is, if you'd asked me this a couple of weeks ago, I would have been, I'm totally fine. I'm not worried about emptiness at all. I mean, I do think the fact that we have had an ongoing conversation within our marriage is amazing, because I do know that a lot of people find that they are worried about what they're going to say when their kids aren't around the table, because they've almost
Have they
sort
put their
of lived
relationship on pause?
vicariously through the children. So, and you see it a lot, don't you, in restaurants where people are just talking to their kids, to each other through their kids. So that I'm not worried about. You know, if anything, I have and I've spoken about this in other podcasts, I have a certain amount of guilt that I think sometimes our children have been outside of our conversation.
Right.
Because we've always talked so much.
Right.
And I suspect
But often
in 10
about
years...
them.
20 years, no, we're often talking about stuff. Oh, what a great programme we're doing. We're always talking about stuff.
Yeah.
I reckon in 10, 20 years, we will be having a conversation after a couple of bottles of wine somewhere with our kids, and they'll be going, oh my God, you were just, both of you just talked all the time. You were just never in a conversation. I mean, so I think that we're okay with. I'm not the least bit worried, like,
Right.
what am I going to say to Mark?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of the same way of thinking about the world. We have a lot of similar interests. And so I have been thinking up until now, wow, just think we can go to the theatre loads more. We both love the theatre. We can hang out. We can travel. We can do all this stuff. And I've got no problem with it. But Maddie went to Reading Festival last weekend, and
We didn't talk.
it was the first... Because she went off in such a grown-up way, we kind of didn't know what time she was leaving. She'd organised her own stuff. She'd done her rucksack. It was the beginning, real beginning,
Oh, it was very
of feeling
symbolic.
that she was a grown-up.
Yeah.
You know, and 2 weeks running up to Reading Festival, it was like, oh, where are you? Oh, I don't know. What time are you getting back? Oh, I don't know. And it was like that.
Oh, no, something has very much
this
shifted.
Summer
Yeah.
has been her totally managing her own life. Some of which I love, because I hate responsibility, and I find it very difficult, actually, a lot of being a mum. But yeah, I've got a bit of fear now of just missing her, because I just love her so much, and I like her.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is about Maddie and Kiki is we can love our children and not particularly like them, but I really, really like them.
Yeah.
They're funny, they're dry, they keep me on my toes, they correct me, they see me for who I am, and they are great at criticising me and making me think. And I'll miss all of that. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something I'll miss, is that we never call them in, you know, like some relationships will try and sort of corral or court the opinion of their children in a situation. We'll never sort of say, what do you think? What do you think of, you know, I mean, there've been occasions where rows have happened and, you know, they've chimed in. But I do, when I think about or entertain the thought of it, I'm like you. I mean, I think we are very lucky. I'm a much more nervous person. So I feel that the bundle of responsibility is going to be mine to keep the conversation flowing, to keep the activities coming in, to keep the stimuli, you know, I'm not saying I do all those things, but I'm saying that I will worry about doing all those things. And so I get almost stage fright at the thought of the girls not being here and us not being geared, as any family is, towards all of the kind of...
Maybe you'll bloody relax then.
Structures. Well, maybe, but then I have such a hungry appetite for so many things. I worry that my hunger and thirst for all those things will just eventually drive you mad. And whereas you'd like to just be on beaches, on holidays, and quaffing cocktails, you know, and that sort of stuff, I'm going to want to be charged. I'm going to be wanting to be charging around America on foot. You know, no, I'm saying both extremes. No, I wasn't saying it like that. No, not all you're going to want to be doing.
All I'll be wanting to do is sit on a beach and quaff cocktails. I can honestly 100% say when I was just describing that was not in my head at all.
Look, I quite happily will quaff virgin cocktails too.
But I don't want to sit on a beach quaffing cocktails.
I wind you up so easily. I'm just saying, but you know, I'm using the two extremes of what our preferences sometimes are on holidays. As it will put a magnifying glass over our relationship because it always necessarily will. And
but those two extremes make me sound like
no,
a Barbie
all right.
doll
Well,
and make you sound like a ferocious,
well, I think everyone knows
a ferocious brain.
No, I'm not saying that at all. But I mean, I'm trying to just caricature some of the differences in us for just a grab handle. But also, one of the things that I think we would both miss is, are you leaning out of your shot now?
I'm perfectly in my
It's so
shot.
frustrating. She cannot compose a shot.
You know I have trouble sitting still. And I'm
She's
perfectly
such a
in the
fidget.
shot.
Yeah, I know, but I'll have to move it across now. The girls are also great, objective, diplomatic barometers on us. They check our behaviour
That's what I
towards
mean.
each other. And I think, you know...
Well,
no, I think they do. I think they know when I'm being ridiculous. Kiki often pulls me up and says,
Yeah.
Dad, you're being a bit... Oh, Maddie goes, Dad, that's a bit, you know, you're a bit kind
Yeah.
of on the... And I actually... You know, many parents would be like, don't talk to me. You know, a lot
Oh,
of
no,
parents
we
would be
like
like...
it.
It's really important. And I hope it gives them some confidence because I know they're coming from a place of care and
oh
concern.
yeah, it's never cheeky. It's
No,
always,
it's never-
It's always. They just know us very
Yeah.
well. They know us very, very well.
So
And
in that
and
sense,
that's a
I think we
blessing.
might lose a really important layer of
That's
diplomacy
interesting.
between
Yeah.
us. And so when I then think about that, I then get slightly worried. I get a bit scared of the prospect of thinking, you know, where maybe Maddie or Kiki can dissipate an excess in me or a ridiculousness in me, or where I take a joke too far. One of my mistakes is that I take things too far. You might just tire of that, and there won't be anyone there to just rein you back in, and you might just go... I mean, thankfully we're through the menopause, so it won't be the empty nest and the menopause. So I'm excited, but I'm nervous. Because I also share so many interests with the girls too. You know, but I think I chime in with you. You have different interests with them. But it's that friendship thing. It's the idea of I genuinely like them. They genuinely make me laugh.
We will be losing the day-to-dayness of the friendship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not so much about, and we are, I mean, don't get us wrong, we're very much their parents as well. We're not like out raving with them kind of
Oh,
friends.
no, I
we
can't
just want to
stand
be our
that sort of
kids'
thing.
friends.
Don't
We're
Maddie did ask me to DJ at her next party yesterday.
Which we're not that at all, and nor will we ever be, because I think that's wrong. I think your kids need you to be
A boundary, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mark is a big kid, and he's just a kid with them. But I'm very much the mum and tells them what to do and tells them off and all of that sort of stuff.
But they also know when I take a certain tone and I'm giving them advice.
Yeah.
They know when to stop and listen.
Yeah, but we're friends. We really, really like each other. We all like hanging out with each other, and we will miss that. But you know what? I have a feeling they'll be here a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose all I'm articulating is a fear of change, less that there will be new opportunities. I mean, for example...
See, I love change and you hate change.
No, I don't.
change my mind all the
That's
time.
not true. I've made some of the biggest changes most people can make in their life. I love change. But because of the nature of my upbringing and the fear quota, I am more than happy to don an outfit, go to the North Pole, jump out of a plane, do whatever. That's fine. But I like to. There's nothing wrong with liking to be certain of my kit and equipment and tools and where we're going. I like to know where we're going, however rapidly it
I think that's
happens.
a really good way to describe it. Empty nest syndrome. We are walking into the absolute unknown. And I suppose, again, it's the differences between you and I, which I think that's why we complement each other, is that I think you would agree that you overthink sometimes, and I overthink in a different way. I mean, I really do overthink too. But I'm also very much what will be, because if I try and work out exactly what it's going to feel like and exactly how I'm going to worry and what it's going to be, I'll drive myself mad. So I keep thinking, I think it will be a good thing. I think we'll be all right. I think the girls will be around a lot. I think we'll hang out a lot.
Yeah.
I think we'll holiday a lot. I think they'll want mama spaghetti a lot. I think they'll crave the conversations that they have with you. It's going to be hard for them to find people that understand their love of music, their love of film, all in the way that you do. You know, all the wonderful times we've all had together, going to see art and doing all of that stuff. Those are all comfort blankets that they will want to come back to. So, but there will be great periods of time where they'll just be wanting to hang out with them, with their boyfriends and won't even think about us.
And we mustn't want them thinking, and this is the important thing, we mustn't want them thinking about this. I
No.
say this to Izzy and I say this to Fleur. Of course, I always tell them how much we miss them, but I hope it's a testimony to the strength of our relationships that they're off and they're doing their thing, and I just want them to be doing their thing. What I would say though is it's why I'm putting Netflix. I'm probably going to get Disney Plus put in there. We're thinking of making the room really attractive. I'm going to put a projector in there. It's going to be a can't leave location. That might be the way. The one side product of the sidebar sort of positivity in all of this though is we might be able to do something in there without worrying by the fire, by the telly, in front of the front of the
By the
telly.
fireside.
Bit of a cuddle, bit of a
cuddle by the
bit
fireside.
a bit of a spontaneity.
That'd be so weird, wouldn't it?
Spontaneous.
That'd be so weird.
Just-
to have a cuddle without going, oh my God, who's going to walk in?
I was talking about having a cup of tea. What are you talking about?
Cuddle.
Yeah, just a cuddle. I mean, so I think they'll be, but mind you, by the time
We're lifting our eyebrows when we
by
say
the time
that, 'cause
empty
we-
nesting happens,
If you're listening to this on podcast,
we're
doing a lot of facial stuff
Yeah.
for our YouTube channel.
yeah, that's a positive, a bit more. Anyway, what do you think, guys?
You know what will be good? To have a sense of endless time. You know, when you were younger, when we first met, you'd wake up when you wanted to, like a weekend, you would just
Well, I'm never
do
going
what
to
you
stop
wanted
working. I mean,
No, I know that, but we are freelancers, so even
Yeah.
that we decide when we work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll probably make more programs than ever. I
Yeah.
think for our YouTube channel, I think we'll become even more productive actually.
Yeah.
But we'll also, when we have leisure time, we'll be able to really have leisure time because it'll be absolutely what we want to do and not
Yes.
fixing it
Yeah.
for everybody else. And that would be really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine just staying in bed till 10 o'clock if
And
you wanted.
yeah.
Bye everybody.
Bye, guys.